You're listening to a main feed episode. Go to patreon.com/Celtic Ligers where €5 a month gets you weekly full-length episodes, stray bonus content and access to the back catalogue. Also helps cover hosting and gives us money for sweeties. Thank you. Celtic Ligers.
Recorded 4th of December 2023.
Alright, we're recording now.
And an all new Project Hertz project rate. 48,000.
Yeah. Please let this work. That's all I ask.
So if we sound crisper?
Crisper then, yeah. Apparently there's no difference. Apparently it doesn't make a difference at all.
Oh, right, okay.
I have no idea. Somebody said that, but it's like, you know, on Reddit, and they go like, yeah, whatever. The difference between 44,100 and 48,000 is like, and I was like, oh, okay. I don't know. I don't care. I switched to a new mic though because I was having trouble with the other one, and it was peaking all over the.
Yeah, you can't be doing a handheld for a podcast.
No, you can't, especially when it's 2 hours long.
Yeah.
And also I was like, I could notice the levels peaking, so I would move the mic away from my mouth, but I would move it more towards the left side. So when I was listening back to it, it was like the audio was weighted in one ear over the other. Which is, not good. Which is not good.
Yeah, it's like one of those, you listen to some Beatles music.
Yeah.
You ever done that?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And then it's like, for some reason, the guitar's coming out of one ear. What other instruments they have in the Beatles? You got the drums, you got the sitar, you got the... I think that's about it. The guitar, the sitar.
Yeah, I don't think they have anything else. Yeah.
Do you think Ringo Starr is the best drummer in the world?
To quote John Lennon, Ringo's not even the best drummer in the Beatles.
Yes. I was setting you up for that one.
Nice. I thought you were going to talk about In Her Majesty, which is one of my favourites of theirs. And I don't really, I'm not a Beatles person. I'm not really that pushed.
No.
But when I heard Her Majesty, I really liked it. But there's a lot of, when there's like new innovations and like sound. I mean, I guess, I don't know if it's an innovation, but either way, it seemed to be that they were like playing around with the idea of things passing from headphone to, from speaker to speaker.
Yeah, yeah.
So Her Majesty starts off in the left speaker and then continues over to the right speaker by the end of the song. Yeah. I don't know music as it's clear by any of that. But there was another one by Stephen Merritt of the Magnetic Fields, made a song, Abigail Bell of Kilronan. And it's actually very unpleasant to listen to if you have like a good set of headphones, in my opinion, just because it constantly goes between the two.
I don't like that.
The music is, I know, it's very disorienting. So I was like trying to sleep. Like I'd only heard it out of like my laptop speakers, which is obviously the best way to listen to music.
Yeah.
But like when I was like sitting down, I was like going to bed and I had listening to some music, and it woke me up because it was so unpleasant. It was like being like, what I imagine being car sick is like, you just have this feeling of like, oh, my inner ear is being thrown all over the place.
Yeah.
Great song though.
The Flaming Lips, didn't they do something where you had to play 4 CDs at the same time?
That sounds interesting. I believe it.
Yeah, I believe it.
Those guys, they're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I love one of my favorite. They were like had a list of like band disses, and Wayne Cohn from the Flaming Lips was on there a bunch, and he said one of the things, I don't know if I could find it now, but apparently he said, every time I turn on the radio and say, what the fuck is this shit, it's always the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's like he's great, he's correct.
Yeah. Red Hot Chili Peppers are definitely one of those danger bands. It's like, I told you about the guy in school who like his favourite show. No, this was later on. This was after Scrubs had ended, and he said Scrubs was his favourite TV show.
Okay.
So I was like, what's your favourite band? And he said The Killers. But I feel like Red Hot Chili Peppers exists in that sort of area as well. They can't be your favourite band. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah. And like, there's something about them that I find very, like, as a teenager, as a kid, I was like, I don't like this. And a lot of people that I knew liked it. And then I knew that I'd be vindicated one day. And I was, because they are famously, like, they're just so obnoxious. I think it's the sound of them that just drives me mad, you know?
I think as well, it's funny how they are sexual. You know what I mean? Always jumping around in their underwear.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't like it. You know what I mean?
No.
Put some clothes on.
I'm against it, actually.
Yeah.
His swagger. I'm talking about Elvis Presley now.
Yeah, so-called
up
swagger.
there in his fucking, you know, jumpsuit.
His jumpsuit.
I don't know. I'm watching For All Mankind now. Have you heard of this show?
No.
And once again, I'm going to be like, oh, I think you'd really like it. And then you'll never watch a single episode of it, you know? And I feel like it's to spite me, so...
lay it on me. What's it about?
It's made by the guy who was the head writer on Star Trek Next Generation and the reboot of Battlestar Galactica, and it's an alternative history show where what if the Soviets had landed on the moon first?
Oh, right.
And it's basically just about like the space race accelerating again because the United States, you know, once they were beaten to the moon, they're like, well, fuck it. We're going to be the first ones to do this on the moon instead, you know? So everything kind of accelerates. But then the communists also one-up them again by putting a woman on the moon before them. So they're like, we need to get some women in the space program yesterday. So like all of these kind of civil rights things are also, you know, accelerated. But I was kind of hoping that somebody who worked on Next Generation would have a more enlightened view of the Soviets, let's say. Do you know?
Yeah.
But it's exactly as you've come to expect from America. So like they're in the second season, which I'm on, they eventually kind of meet the Soviets, and it's the 80s and Reagan's there. So here's an interesting thing, just politically speaking. And like, you know, they kind of introduce Nixon through his kind of illicit recordings.
Oh yeah.
And he's like given out. So he'll be like, God damn it, these fucking, we need to beat those commies to the fucking moon, you know, just like a real piece of shit.
And he
you know, just kind of, yeah. And then he gets beaten by Ted Kennedy, okay? So I guess it's that he doesn't leave office. He just, in disgrace, Watergate doesn't happen for whatever reason. And he gets voted out of office in favor of Ted Kennedy.
Okay.
And then Ted Kennedy is like, they do a similar thing where it's like, you NASA pricks, you better get me a moon base. You know, and just like, and then Ronald Reagan comes in, and I was like, all right, let's hear what Ronald Reagan has to say. And Ronald Reagan is like one of the most enlightened, inspired individuals. And he's like, Godspeed, we're all praying for you. And it's incredibly tasteless because like the administrator of NASA is a woman in the second season, but like she has to hide her that the fact that she's a lesbian. Okay. And I guess I just found that very tasteless, given like I've kind of gone a bit wide with it, but ultimately like they are like
thing.
Yes, yeah. But like in the show, it's like the Russians always strike first. The Russians are heartless, cold. So one will be like, you know, so why did you decide to go into space? It's because I'll tell you what I did. I was a pilot, and my daddy trained me on the crop duster, and now I want to go up there because I just want to touch them stars.
And then they ask the Russians, sort of cheese the moon is made out of.
Yeah, exactly. And then the Russians are like, what is the Russians like? Why did you go into space? I am cosmonaut. Government told me to go, so I go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like they're fucking heartless sons of bitches, you know? And then when the United States welcome the cosmonauts, there's like a big brass band, but then when the Americans go there, there's just a bunch of guys holding Kalashnikovs, and then in the background there's a smoking man who you can just barely see, you know, looking at them. And then an international incident happens, which means that they basically have taken the astronauts hostage in these hotel rooms. Okay, they won't let them out, and their phones won't work.
Okay.
And eventually, like, this Russian guy comes in, and she goes, "I need to get out of here. You let me out of this room now." And he's like, "Please sit. We have vodka and sausage." And he takes out a sausage and starts like slicing off bits of this sausage, and then talking in like these cryptic analogies about like, "I remember walking on farm. My ox was strong," you know, that type of shit. And you're just like, and outside the window is just constantly raining. Everything is a high rise, and it looks grey and miserable. And then one of the other ones, like to skip back as well. They have like they have an incident. Basically, they're welcoming the cosmonauts, and they're like, as a show of hospitality, we went out to the only Russian restaurant in Houston and got you borscht. And then they like whisper to each other, and it's like, "Can we have American hamburger instead?" And then they go out and they're drinking Jack Daniels and eating hamburgers, you know? And
they're just having a great time.
It's just like, fuck off. And then like, but the thing that really struck me, this is a spoiler alert now, but like, there's like all this tension and hostilities between the Russians and the Americans. And in the background of it, they've kind of done this publicity stunt where they're going to have 2 capsules dock while orbiting, and they're going to take a picture of an American astronaut shaking hands with a Soviet cosmonaut.
Right. Yeah.
So there's all these kind of things that are happening, like tensions between each and everybody, and it looks like shit's about to kick off. So they cancel the mission, but god damn it, the astronauts are like, "We came too far. We're docking with these Soviets, and we're going to shake hands to show that it can goddamn be done," you know?
Yeah.
And so then they do it. They shake hands with them, and then the NASA administrator's like, "Phone call for you." So she goes into her office, and they close the door, and it's like, "Please wait for the president." And the president's like, "Hello?" And she's like, "Listen, Mr. President, I know what you're going to say, but, they were up there, and we just couldn't do it." And he's like, "No, I wanted to tell you, Ellen, that what you did was inspiring." And all of a sudden he's like, "I've agreed to meet with the Russian premier, and we're calling off all the and it's like, because of this inspiring incident that you did." And I was like, fuck off. Just the whole thing about like, and like they even have a bit in it, like it's well known before, but the way it's like, so the Americans bring like rifles to the moon, okay? And then they do unilaterally, like, they see a glint up on the horizon of this crater, and they're like, "That's a fucking commie," okay?
Yeah.
So they go up there and they see these Soviets like messing around with like mining equipment.
Okay.
And so then they start like yelling at them. They start going like, hey, get away from the crater,
Yeah.
And then the Soviets head back to a box nearby, and then the Americans get twitchy and they shoot them, okay?
Oh.
And then they go over to the box, and then obviously they discover that there wasn't any weapons. He wasn't going for a weapon. He was going for like
it's an egg,
a translation card or something,
Yeah.
And so she's like, "Oh my God, I shot this guy in cold blood. Oh my God." And she's like crying. And then later on, roles reversed. The Soviets are like just gunning like Americans down. And like your man's on the ground, like he's like, "Oh, he's injured." And the guy just like shoots him in the back of the head, and looks, his face is merciless and cold.
Right,
and it's just like, no, the Soviets are like, when our Marines shoot the Soviets without provocation, they actually feel really bad about it. But when they did it, they were like, "Thank God for letting me off the fucking chain. I was wanting to strangle you with my bare hands, and now you've given me,
And all this is on the moon.
Yeah.
You're shooting guns on the moon and stuff.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they kind of
good.
talk about it. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, like, it takes until the second season for the guns to come in, but like, it's that type of... like, one of the things that happens is like, so they shoot this guy, they shoot both of them, and then one guy's down and he's like injured and he's got a puncture in his suit, so they're like, "Okay, we got to wrap him up quickly and get him back to base." And then the other guy is just screaming, and they're like, "Why he's screaming? What's up?" And they lift up his helmet, and he's just on fire because the bullet sparked the oxygen inside the thing. So he just like burns. He's on fire. So this is like the one good moment where they have where like the Americans, like I said, they feel so bad about what they did, So the Soviets come and collect the body, and they're like, "Don't let those fucking Ruskies out of your sight. If they take a dump on this base, I want to know about it."
Yeah.
What are you talking about? But anyway, so they go. So anyway, what ends up happening is like they take the Soviets out to like the thing. It's like, well, here's your other guy, and the Soviets just like open up this bag of just bones and meat. That's like, just the whole package looks like, fucking a microwave lasagna. You know? And the guy's like, just like his face is furious and like, we'll help you, bring him out to your car. Leave. It's just like, you do not touch him. And I was like, yeah, that's the correct.
Have you ever seen?
But like the Americans are literally like, okay, Jesus.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the picture? It's like, your man. There's a Russian guy who went into space, and then when he came back, he didn't make it anyway. And have you ever seen that picture? And it's the generals, and they're looking at his body, and it's like, it's like a bunch of old twigs lying on the table. Jesus. Because they're like burnt up, and then they found it.
Oh man, all the stuff with space is like, because like, again, another thing that they did on it, like just the things that it does to the human body, basically.
Yeah. We're really not supposed to be up there. Like, we're not supposed to be doing a lot of stuff, but we're really not supposed to be in space.
But like one episode of Solar Flare takes place, and they're like, well, what's going to happen to the Earth if the solar flare like hits us? And like, nothing. We've got an atmosphere. It's like, well, what did it do to the people on the moon? It's like, it would be like being hit by like 100 X-ray machines at once,
Yeah.
And it lasts for 3 hours, so like this person gets caught out in the middle of it, and they're like, when they get back, they're just like, yeah, you're like off of flight duty now because you're gonna have like cancer coming out of everywhere within like a month or two.
Yeah, you're dead.
Yeah.
Did you ever read about the other guy? Some Japanese guy, and he stood too near a nuclear power plant or something, and instead of killing him, instead of letting him die, they were like, let's see what happens to him.
Oh, brother. And
like all his skin fell off. Like
even
all
laughing
his
at that.
skin.
It's just, it's so, like, I didn't watch Chernobyl, but like apparently there's some images in that which are just like these people who have to stop this reactor from melting down, and they know they're going in to certain death, and then it's like their teeth are falling out, their hair is falling out, their fingernails are falling out. Everything is just like it is crazy. Like
Like, imagine going into the hospital and you sit next to a guy with no skin. You just be like, at least I'm not him.
I love like it in sci-fi as a thing, which is like, I was watching like The Expanse, okay, and they ended up in this chamber where a bunch of radiation was leaked into it, and so they're there and they're like 3, 2, 1, and then the radiation comes in and they're just standing there, and then there's like a red light over them for about like 10 seconds, and they look like they're not really reacting, and then it stops and he's like, what happened? And it was like, we seem to be okay, and he's like, no, we're dead.
Yeah.
They're just like, every part of us has been cooked by radiation, and it's going to take us an hour to feel the effects of it.
I know. That's the mad thing. Is like, in Chernobyl there'd be scenes and it's like someone like peers around a corner, and when they come back, their face is just red, but they don't feel anything. It's like our bodies aren't designed to feel radiation.
It's crazy.
And then it just like, because what it does, it like destroys your DNA. So then when your cells are reproducing, they start fucking up, and all your skin falls off.
I mean, that's a new
wouldn't be me.
Terror now.
But the bad thing is that like the lads who went in to sort out Chernobyl, most of them were grand. It was the ones who were in there at the time, they were fucked. But a lot of the ones who went in, because they were just like, you can be in. They were like, they get like 100 people, and they'd be like, your job is you go in there and you take one shovel of sand and you throw it over there, and then you get out quickly. So like no one would be in there for more than like 5 seconds. And then they'd just be like, you go shower, come back in an hour, and then go back in. So like they did it as safely as you could. So like a lot of them are still alive.
Interesting.
Here's a question: what would it be like if Ireland went into space?
Here's a funny thing. In For All Mankind, there is an Irish astronaut for one bit of it.
What's his name?
Her name is... I can't remember her name.
Seamus.
But like, basically the US have like an orbiting space station or satellite.
Yeah.
And it's like an international thing. So like there's
matter
like Dutch...
matter that is real. There is a space station.
Oh yeah? Like an international one?
Well, there's some sort of one. Yeah. The ISS. Isn't that the international...
Yeah.
Matter there is a space station. You know what I mean?
It is mad. Because you don't really hear that much about it.
No, you think it'd be on the news all the time. But it actually, like... The only times you ever see it is that Canadian guy who's like, here's what it's like to eat a yogurt in zero gravity. It's like...
Man, I really dropped the ball with the whole space race.
Yeah. Like, it's never like, here's this three-eyed mouse that we put into the vacuum for like half an hour to see what would happen. It's always just like, in space, you don't need to shower every day.
Yeah. Actually, the water just kind of clings to you, so you have to use this gel to put under your pits, and you're just like, oh, well, thanks for that.
Show me the mouse. Show me the lizard.
Yeah. Yeah, like, what was it? Yeah, I was thinking, the other thing about it that I liked about, because the Soviets didn't land on the moon, that means that, like, the plaque with Richard Nixon's name on it is not on the surface of the moon, which is, like, I love, because that drives me crazy.
You say that again?
There's a plaque on the moon.
No, there's not. I thought it was a
with
flag.
Richard Nixon's name on it.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was a flag with the United States' name on it.
I think it was attached to the Apollo. What was it? Apollo 10.
I know it only goes up to 17.
Well, anyway, one of the whichever one was a successful landing for Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong, and Michael Collins, R.I.P.
What? I thought he was dead by that time.
No, he came back for one last job.
Yeah. Yeah, he heard there was something on the moon. Freedom. Yeah, he heard there was, you know,
lithium
on the moon. Yeah, I don't know.
And he was like, love that album, love that song.
Yeah.
By Nirvana.
I love Nirvana. And you tell me that one of their songs on the moon.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's a plaque of Richard Nixon on the moon? Or was it
it has his signature, but it's like, oh, we came for all mankind and blah blah blah. But it's like, it's just irritating to me that
then how come your name
that
is on
Richard Nixon is on the moon? His name is on the like, as in, it just fucking pisses me off. I don't like it.
Yeah. Maybe a space lizard is taking a shit on it or something.
Yeah.
Have you ever looked at the thing and it's like I don't know if it's on the moon or where it is, but they made like a plaque and it's on a satellite that's just shooting into space.
Yes.
And there's like loads of songs on it and all that sort of stuff. I don't like the songs they chose. They put on like Rock Around the Clock and stuff.
Yeah, I know.
It's just like a load of Elvis and Chuck Berry.
Yeah. Well, at least Chuck Berry's black. I mean,
why does that make it better?
Well, I was just thinking if you're like in NASA and then it's like, let's put on some Frank Sinatra and get that out there, Dino and the boys, so that they can really uncover what's going on Earth. And it's like just fucking a white guy from the 1960s and his idea of culture.
Yeah. I think they tried to make it diverse. They have like Chinese folk music and stuff. And then they also... Andy Warhol drew a penis on it.
Nice.
So...
Good for him.
Yeah. What song would you put on it? And it can't be by They Might Be Giants.
Oh, Fuck, that was like literally the first song I was gonna say. What song would I put on? So you think, should I put on my favorite song, or should I put on like a song that I think would be representative of like humanity?
Or one that you think an alien would like? Either.
Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba.
That would be good. They'd be like, wow, these people don't get knocked down. Or they get back up again.
But they get back up again, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd go with that one as well.
Yeah. It's hard to
put it on twice.
Beat that one, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd put on I Predict a Riot by the Kaiser Chiefs.
Yeah. I put on every song by the Coronas.
I'd put on every, you know, in the video game Burnout. One of the Burnout games had I Don't Like Your Boyfriend by Avril Lavigne, but in about 7 different languages. So I'd put all of them on there as well, just so that they got the broad range of it.
Yeah, so it'd be like, no culture likes people's boyfriends. I put on a skate video of a guy. Yeah. I saw one and like, it's like his jaw, not his jawbone, the top bit.
Yeah.
Like cracked. Ugh. I put that on there.
I put on Rodney Mullen doing a freaking dark slide.
Yeah. They'd be like, wow, they're magicians on this planet. This planet are full of, they've mastered gravity because he's so good at skating.
Yeah.
You know, he invented like 90% of the tricks in the world.
At that point? Well, I mean, like, yeah.
He invented like ollie.
A kickflip or something.
I think he invented ollieing.
I feel like that's the first thing that you would do if you had a skateboard.
No, I think for the first while they just zipped around the place.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you ever watch Lords of Dogtown?
No.
Yeah.
I do watch a lot of these reels on Instagram, and they're of Indian street vendors with poor hygiene.
Poor hygiene?
Yeah, they don't have very good, like, what's the word? You know, kitchen hygiene. I watch a lot of that.
Yeah.
That's what I want to watch at the minute. And I mean, like a guy who's stirring sauce with his hand. And then he like scrapes all the sauce off and throws it back in. Or there's another guy and he's like making food and he only has one arm and you go like, fair play. But he's like making these patties. So he like puts it under his armpit and like uses that to mold it. And then he like
okay.
It's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah. Those videos always strike me as like racist because it's almost like this is what they're like.
I'm not
putting
watching
it out there
them in a racist way, you know. I watch them in a cool, ironic way.
Just sitting there with your fingers steepled, just twirling a brandy in one hand.
Yeah. Like there's a billion Indian people, so like
some of them are going to be gross, you know.
They're going to be gross. It's like you go to some takeaways in Ireland, and there's like rats crawling around the kitchen and stuff.
I worked in a Quiznos and there was a guy in the back who made the sandwiches and he didn't wear shoes.
That's
so he was doing,
Oh, he's scratching his feet.
His bare feet in the kitchen. All right, let's talk about the news.
Did you see?
I was
thinking about the tweet Mary Lou McDonald put out.
Ugh, bro.
I was so mad. Like,
I know.
Not to be like, oh, it wasn't like her, but it didn't seem like her. You know what I mean? So it's like she goes up to she's on the street where the stabbing happened. That set off the riot. The 3 kids were stabbed, and then there's like a homeless guy drinking on the street, and she's like 1 inch from his face. She has a camera like right in his face.
But I was like, is that a stock image? Is that a photo that a constituent sent her?
Like
or
it
something
looks like that, but it's so like she's just so up in his face. And then she's like, I thought Fine Gael were the party of law and order, but this
man is still alive.
Men like this are breathing and walking around in society.
I have it up here. On Thursday, 3 small children and a teacher randomly and viciously stabbed here at Gaelscoil Colosh de Weira. This is pick-up time at same school yesterday. For all the hot air and diversions, no lessons have been learned by government, no care or respect, no political accountability. And literally, it's a picture of a guy drinking a can. And, like, there's also, like, I mean, like, it probably is alcohol, but, you know, there's times where I'm drinking one of those tall cans of Pepsi Max and being like, are people thinking, God, it's a little early?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, there could be a Monster Energy drink or a Club Orange for all we know. For some reason, it's like, this guy is sitting here, you know?
Yeah. Well, who's your man out of the Independent that you don't like? Paul.
Pick one. I mean, seriously.
Paul Howard?
No. Fionn Sheehan, no. Philip Ryan.
Yeah, I think it was Philip Ryan. He wrote a thing and it was like, Mary Lou used a vulnerable man to make a point.
He can
like,
get fucked
as well. Yeah,
it's
like, you do not care about that guy.
Brother.
You just hate Mary Lou McDonald.
Well, I thought, like, oh, that's a misfire, and I took a screenshot of it because I was like, there's no way that that's staying online. Still there, but, like, even worse than that, I was trying to find it before we logged on, but your one, I think her name's Louise O'Reilly. She brought that photo in and was talking about it in the dog.
Really?
She just put here's that photo again, and it's an absolute disgrace. And I was like, you know, this is the most, like, they've done some pretty, like, Starmer-like things, but this is by far and away on a Law and Order ticket. A man out here drinking a can in front of innocent children, you know, and, like,
yeah,
it was just, what can you say? I think it's really horrible. Like, they're going for the Law and Order, you know, angle, and this has, like, been like, I think it's because it's where Fine Gael are vulnerable, because apparently they've always been seen as, like, a Law and Order party, even though that seems to be, like, you know what I mean? The Independent would be like, oh, they're about law and order, and it's like, no, they're actually just about making the housing crisis worse. For a lot of people, that would be what they'd associate, right? Because there's what people say that they're about, and then there's what people perceive them to be about. And I think people had seen them do Law and Order, but, like, it didn't have much purchase. I think that's my opinion anyway. Like, but the thing that cost them so many votes in the last election was basically, remember they timed it with commemorating the Black and Tans. Do you remember that?
yeah, that was amazing. Who was it again? Neil Richmond.
I think it was Charlie Flanagan who was the most vocal about it, because he was, like, the minister for something stupid. I know that, like, when I lived in Kilkenny, there was about, and I think that was his constituency, or something. But there was, like, 3 statues dedicated to, like, the victims of World War I that were launched by him in his brief time as that. And it's like,
really?
You know, they really do, like, love it. That's why it was so surprising that Micheál Martin is the one who's come out with such a big horn for war, as opposed to Varadkar, you know? Because Fine Gael, like, love that shit. They're like, a man in uniform, I love it, regardless of who he is. It could be a black and tan, doesn't matter. We need to commemorate them.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they tried to say it was like, what do you call it? It was like reaching out to the unionists as well, because it was like, they wanted to commemorate the RIC as well. And they were like, that was an all-Irish police force. It's like, the unionists don't care about the RIC. Yeah. I saw... I liked that other tweet, but that Fine Gael put out.
Yeah, that was really
that
funny.
Was like, Sinn Féin is weak on... actually, also, it's the profile picture for Fine Gael, it's orange now.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that.
There it says, fact, Sinn Féin is weak on crime. They're more interested in political stunts than keeping our streets safe. And then it says, Fine Gael.
I love this.
Tougher sentences, check. Reopen the Garda Training College,
Good.
check. Record-breaking investment in the Gardaí, check.
Brilliant.
Committed to building stronger, safer communities, check. Sinn Féin, weak on crime.
What? Okay, if you say so. I mean, I don't know what you're talking. Like, because you're talking about like at this moment, Drew Harris and Helen McEntee, and then a bunch of other people within Fine Gael who were serving as Minister for Justice while she was on maternity leave, are all implicated in this, fuck up.
Yeah.
And also, not to mention, they've been in power for fucking ever. So like, if I was the type of person to like, that type of thing, like, oh, they're not tough on crime. I was like, what does that mean? Doesn't mean anything. It's stupid. But like, clearly what we've seen is, if you were that type of person, you're like, well, they fucked up. Everybody's fucked up. And what's ended up happening is the solution is more guards, and Drew Harris is to blame, but also is not to blame. And same with Helen McEntee. She's kind of a little bit at fault, but not really at fault. And so then you...
they mentioned Simon Harris of Swaffin as well.
Yeah.
He was he was filling in for McEntee.
Yeah, exactly. But like to then go like, but Sinn Féin are bad on crime. I was like, what does that mean? What are you talking about? Doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. I know, like, there's obviously some sort of work to rule thing going on with the guards at the minute, where they're just not doing anything. Like, and then half of them are quitting. And then Drew Harris also, like, lost the standoff he had with the guards. Weak on crime. Want to abolish the special criminal court.
That's not true either, but whatever.
Yeah, they've sort of given up on that one, but also it's like a lot of people want to abolish it. Like, a lot of people say the special criminal court
I didn't even think about that, because I was like,
is illegal.
I was just like, well, that's not true. I didn't even think about well, actually, that's a good thing, even if it was true.
Yeah, like, people always say in Ireland, we need it because the country's so small that what's the word? Jury intimidation is a real issue. I feel like there's other ways of dealing with that.
I would say so.
That they must deal with. You can't just be doing trials without a jury. And accepting donations from criminals like Jonathan Dowdall.
That one kind of surprised me, because he was actually a counsellor for them, I think. So wouldn't that be a better way?
There was a bit of a scandal about him donating money.
But it's like, why does it even need to be about money? Like, he's a guy who... Wasn't he, like, convicted of murder?
Yeah. He was convicted of torture.
Yeah, so you're kind of like...
With his dad. The two of them were tortured.
Yeah, but he was also implicated in that shooting that happened in...
Yeah, the Regency shooting. Yeah, like, they could be like, he was elected and he's in the party.
He was in the party, and he is involved... What is it? So I was just looking up at the Wikipedia... Came to national prominence due to his involvement in the killing of David Byrne in 2016. So, like, he tortured people, allegedly. Can we say allegedly?
I think he definitely did it.
But, like, he's just such a seedy character. They're like, he actually got money from this. No, man, he was an elected member of Sinn Féin. Yeah. And it's like, how do you miss that fucking massive... Like, if you're just going to be, like, completely... like slanderous anyway, then you might as well, like, well, they're not slanderous, but you know what I mean. If you're going down that road and you don't care about, like, how you're perceived, then surely go for the jugular as opposed to be like,
Yeah. And then the last one is call for ministers to be taken out. I don't know what that's about.
I don't know.
But that one seems crazy.
It seems to be it's such an obvious provocation, and they're always trying to do this, like, Sinn Féin are suing too often, obviously, as you pointed out. But they're doing too many lawsuits, so they're trying to, like, provoke them into being like, you can't just say that, like, we want somebody taken out, like mobsters. Like, I didn't mean that. I meant taken out to dinner. I meant they'd be taken out, as in they want them to be removed from their posts. Taken out. That's just what I was... Why? What were you saying? What did you think I was saying? It's just like fooling absolutely nobody.
Yeah. Apparently they said it about Helen McEntee, that she needs to be taken out. If she won't resign, he needs to take her out.
Yeah.
We, of course, have ruled nothing out. But, yeah, I think, and then, people were saying it's not right to use language like that when there was such thuggery witnessed in Dublin. So they're like, how can you say that after the riots happened on our watch?
That's funny. That's such a real, like, everybody's like,
it's a real
I was just thinking about like how it's a lot like Israel and the IDF. It's kind of sort of relevant because there was another post that I found there where, do you know, where everything is just veiled anti-Semitism, or like when it comes to them because of their terrorist connections, it means taken out. Surely you know what that means when you're saying it, because you're a terrorist.
Yeah.
And you just kind of, any excuse to just bring it back to the same topic and evoke that shit again and again to justify your, you know, own failure. And then like on top of that, but yeah, sorry, the guards like posted a picture of like some drugs that they confiscated. Let me just try and find this.
Oh yeah.
Did you see that, where he's like, they open up they had like found like a biscuit tin with a bunch of hash in it, and they were like, instead of there being lovely scrummy chalky bickies in this, there's a load of fucking hash, you know. And it's like very similar to like the IDF and their kind of like you know, going into I don't know, fucking, you know, like all of their social media campaigns against the Arabs of like hey, here's what when you hear the call for prayer, and then they're throwing like a fucking grenade inside a mosque or something, and then doing like a dab. Like it's just this weird, like,
I know. People call it like small bean, you know, that thing.
Yeah.
It's like an IDF soldier talking about their anxiety, you know. Or how they're like, I'm just a 25-year-old teenager, and then also like shooting a kid in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guards.
Zainab sent me.
What?
Yeah, go on. No, I was just gonna say, like, for them to say that also, if this fucking article will ever open, Zainab sent me on this thing that I mean, maybe it was on other outlets. I didn't really see it, but Fianna Fáil, you know, a lot of people in Fine Gael, a lot of people, like who are their kind of surrogates in the media, are now going like, well, these riots were like really bad, but we actually do need to pay attention to them and think about what they're saying. Do you know? Like, which is, you know, so the idea of them going like being hypersensitive about the language that's being used by Sinn Féin against them, and then to go, but then the rioters did have a kind of point that we do have too many immigrants.
Yeah,
you know?
I know.
It's wild. It's crazy.
Yeah,
just that, like,
you have to listen to these people.
Yeah,
but I definitely feel like Fine Gael are trying to goad Sinn Féin into suing them with that one. It's just too good.
Yeah.
Such
a crazy thing to say.
Yeah. No one in Fine Gael talks about having anxiety or anything like that. I wonder if they'll ever start doing that.
Well, I mean, I thought there was a variation of that during COVID where they're like, remember, when you're staying indoors, get outside, have a nice little jog, make some banana bread. And then here's Richard Bruton jumping off, like, you know, into the water with his fucking abs.
Yeah.
Remember that?
But that was almost them not understanding emotion. Do you know what I mean? It was almost the opposite, where they're like, if you're feeling unhappy, whatever that means, just try going for a run. I've heard it helps, you know? It's like the people who are like, if you feel depressed, just go for a walk and watch your favorite TV show. As opposed to, it's not like they've never really gotten into like the therapy speak, you know?
Yeah. I feel triggered, etc.
Yeah. Yeah, when are they going to be like, your language is triggering to me?
Sorry about the cat. She has to get up, otherwise she'll keep screeching.
Okay.
When are they going to do
or like, who's going to be the first party to do the therapy speak? Probably Soc Dems.
Probably Labour or Soc Dems. Actually, Labour have a good one. I'm going to be bouncing all over. I just have a bunch of like they're kind of all a part of the same team, but they are also can be very disconnected. But there was one I thought was very funny with whatchamajigger. Have you seen Labour's response though?
No. To which?
So, well, just it was something they posted during the week about. So this is Rebecca Moynihan, who I believe is still Labour's spokesperson on housing, and you might remember her from saying that, well, I'm going to put a bill forward which allows landlords to put out unfurnished apartments so people can finally have their own furniture.
Yeah.
And you're like just missing the mark entirely.
Yeah.
But following the events of the 23rd of November, Labour's Rebecca Moynihan says that the Labour Party will be voting no confidence in Minister for Justice Helen McEntee if Sinn Féin table a vote next week. She says, however, that it's not the party's position that the minister should resign.
What does that mean?
It's like, hey, if you do it, we'll vote no confidence, but also she shouldn't go anywhere. She should stay in her position with us having absolutely no confidence in her abilities. It's like, yeah.
That's mad. That's like really trying to have it both ways.
Yeah, and that there was also like a clip that I saw, like Mick Call has I've been calling him out. I'm calling you out, Call. You know the guy who's like the sock dem who just posts nonstop about, like the news content aggregator, but he's very obsessed with this story in particular and Dublin being torn apart by criminal elements. But he put up a clip, and he'd labelled the clip. Tell me what you think of this. But he labelled the clip anyway that Jennifer Carroll McNeil, who's like a Fine Gael minister, and she's a real fucking dumbass. But she said like, this woman, Fine Gael minister accuses Sinn Féin of being responsible for the rise of the far right. And I was like, oh bother. And I was like rubbing my little content mitts together going, I can't wait to see this. And then what she said was like, in Ballybrack over the summer there was a lot of violence and criminal elements and stuff like this. And then she said the council came together along with members from all sides, okay? And she included like Labour, Soc Dems, Richard Boyd Barrett, and all this. And she was like, and everybody came together to try and stop this. She's like, but Sinn Féin were absent. You're always trying to play at both sides. And I found myself going like, that is kind of true, actually. That's something that they have done in the past. Like the way that most of the Sinn Féin councillors are just like massive racists who love the Guards.
Yeah.
And like, unusually so. I mean, the idea of somebody from Sinn Féin loving the Guards is wild to me. But either way, like, it would be, what was that guy? Do you remember the MMA guy that they had? What was his name again? Paddy... Wasn't it Houlihan, was it?
Yeah, I think it was.
Paddy Houlihan, was it?
Something like that.
Something like that, but like, this thing about like, that they were turning a blind eye to the type of shit that he was saying just because they wanted to keep the numbers and keep the seats and to keep these more reactionary elements of their base on board, which they're always doing. And like, now whether you believe what she says that Sinn Féin were nowhere to be seen, I don't know. Maybe Sinn Féin will come back and go, actually, I was at this meeting and I did such and such a thing. But I found myself going like, yeah, no, that is what they do. They do kind of try to wait and see where the thing lands and then have a response to it. That is kind of like,
yeah, definitely
in line with the mainstream. And also to be, they are like, they've taken every opportunity to be more authoritarian. Is that too strong a word? But basically pro-cop than people would actually think a Sinn Féin would be or would like them to be. I think the strategy is always to wait. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's like to not interrupt if someone else is making a mistake, I think is thing. But it really just turns into them being extremely quiet.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're not leading, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me try
and they do seem to be like slipping in popularity a bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's a little bit. And I think if they do, it's just because they haven't really said anything in ages.
Yeah.
And then anything they do say is just sort of signaling that they're more and more, they're like, oh, we can just run the show as normal. Don't worry.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You can have a little bit of tax in the rich as a treat, but we're not going to go crazy on it. You know?
Yeah.
Here's the clip of... I'm just going to share this with you. Louise O'Reilly. I think she's a minister or like a Sinn Féin shadow spokesperson or whatever it is. Well, that's a word I wish we had, you know?
What?
Because we have like opposition, but over in the UK they have the shadow cabinet.
Yeah, English terms are just a lot better.
Yeah, they are, honestly. Although, have you seen that there's like a new ministry for woke or something like that?
What is it really?
I'm not joking. I think it is a ministry for woke. No, sorry. It's a ministry for common sense.
Oh, yeah.
And it's about woke stuff.
Who are we just talking about here? Louise O'Reilly.
Yeah.
She is Bob Browbrigan. I do love the way, like, the little, like, people from, you know, just random parts. I love that, you know, random TDs and councillors, they have to, like, pretend to give a shit about their... it's like, do you remember we were at the launch of The Ditch, and there's a guy talking about the West Clare moon or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, he has to pretend like West Clare has the best moon. Well, she's just put up a picture that's like, Bob Brigham is looking lovely in the moonlight.
Yeah.
And then it's like a picture of her, she's taken on the beach of the moon.
Mm.
It's like, she just has to do that 'cause she's TD. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way she goes around thinking, Bob Brigham is looking beautiful today.
Yeah. Balbriggan, you sexy bitch.
Yeah.
Do you remember that was a big thing for a while? You take a picture off the Halfpenny Bridge of like the sun and going, Dublin, you sexy fucking bitch.
Yeah. You made me wet.
You made me cream my freaking jeans. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's Louise O'Reilly bringing the picture into the Dáil.
Minister, this is what greeted
black
those children
and white printer job.
6 days after that traumatic and horrific event that happened to 3 of their classmates and 1 of their staff members. The school is terrified and traumatised. The school community want answers and leadership, and they are getting neither from you. This picture represents what Dublin City feels like to Dubliners. On your watch, Minister.
I'm laughing because I was like, imagine if that was you in that photo. This fucking pustule, this disgusting, you know, just like, oh man, I'm just having a drink. Just leave me be. Fucking hell, man, you know?
Yeah. I know. It's so rude.
I mean, like, that actually happened in an episode of Peep Show where Mark is in the park having cans and he gets like filmed, and then they turned it into like B-roll for a news item about alcoholism, and he looks like a bum, and he was like, they panned the camera, there was kettle chips there, you know, like you know the way there was a Citations Needed episode about the Florida man trope, okay?
Yeah.
And they're like, you know, how you type in Florida man and then you get, well, Florida man wears a bikini and then, you know, puts a knife to a guy's throat, you know, or something like that. Mm. And then it's like, a lot of times what you're seeing is people who are mentally ill or on, like, have substance abuse issues or are homeless in some instances, you know?
Yeah.
But one of the ones that they chose out, some of them, which was like, it sounds funny. It's like, man arrested after breaking into a Taco Bell to make himself a taco, you know? And you think like, but you're just thinking of like a man as opposed to a man who is desperately hungry and is probably homeless, you know? Like, like, I need to come in, like, get some food. And if I could just had access to, or like, you know, Florida man arrested after washing his clothes in the river. It's like, yeah, these crazy guys. And it's like, maybe it's because he doesn't have all this behavior that would be completely normal for anybody to make some food, to wash your clothes, but because you do it like outside, then all of a sudden it's, you know, it's a sign of like somebody who's fucking crazy, or like this person is an idiot, as opposed to this is a symptom of a greater failure. And I'm not casting any aspersions on a guy just fucking enjoying a can on a fucking step in Dublin, you know? But like, there's a lot of things because of the rise in homelessness that like, maybe he doesn't have anywhere where he can just drink his can, you know? And now it's like, look at these children feel unsafe because of this. This is disgusting and it's happening under your watch. And it's like, you know, I don't know. Just the idea that like the failure is down to the man as opposed to the system is very frustrating, you know?
I know. Like, there are what, 11,000 homeless people in the country. And like most of them are probably in Dublin. And then they have to be somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have to be outside. And then a lot of them have substance abuse issues. Like, it's just like, yeah, it is just complete posturing, because obviously the kids might be afraid. They're obviously traumatized. But like, it's not like there's just that one guy sitting on the step. It's like there's 11,000 homeless people.
Yeah.
You know? Who are just having the worst day of their life over and over again.
What is so evocative about that image to them that they like? Because like, to me, I was like, this just, when I saw the Mary Lou post, I was like, this is like almost like some mammy seeing like, disgraceful, look at this behavior.
Yeah.
They're smoking a spliff by the Liffey. Wait, where are the guards? You know, like, it sounds just, and I was like, somebody's going to come to her and go like, oh, you need to delete that because there are all these other aspects and ways you can see. And then the fact that they just bring the photo in and it was like, this is such a good example of our point that it needs to be on the fucking record. It needs to be written in, you know, like, we need to be able to access this decades from now by typing into the doll, whatever. They've got like a thing where they put up all of the things that people say in the doll.
It's just like a lack of joined up thinking. You know, it's like, they're like, this stabbing happened and now there's this guy here and it scares the kids and that's bad. You know what I mean?
Is there any proof that like he scared the kids? Do you know what I mean?
No.
Like, I don't understand, because like most people in Dublin, especially if you live around that area, I know Gardner Street in particular, if you're walking down there, you just see like tons of people sitting down having a can. It's a very common sight in Dublin. So what you're trying to say is that this man looks like he's living rough, and as a result he is terrifying the children. I was like, well, it's probably not that fucking easy for this guy either. Do you know what I mean? Like,
but I think it's true to say it's like a very common sight. Like, the kids probably see it every day. Yeah. But they definitely see it every day. Yeah. So I think it's literally just like Sinn Féin going, when the Gael say they're tough on crime, well, this guy is just a good example to undermine them. Like, it's literally just using it as a prop.
Like, I'm not sure whether they actually believe it or whether they're just deeply cynical, and both are possible, you know?
Yeah. I don't think they could believe it. Like, you just couldn't be a politician and maybe you could. I don't know. It's hard to imagine someone believing it, you know?
Yeah.
Because, like, say the average person, maybe a lot of people who don't go into the city centre, they probably don't realise just the scale of the homeless crisis.
Yeah.
So maybe if they saw it, they'd be like, that's terrible. You'd think they'd look out, you know, you'd think they'd make sure the street is clear. Whereas if you're a politician, particularly if you represent that area, you must know the scale just prevents, like the only way to keep the street clear is to provide people with homes. Like, you just must know that, you know? So it must be cynical.
Yeah.
Or she's, I don't know, brain damage or something. But, do you remember there was a thing for a while, people saying she was really sick?
Yeah, with COVID.
I don't know, it's something. Brain damage, I think.
Yeah, she got brain damage.
Yeah.
Let's start that now. Let's start that. Let's start that now. Let's start saying that now.
What did they say Hillary Clinton had? The like prion disease you get from eating brains.
I don't know.
Kudu or Kugu or something. Maybe was mad cow. Anyway.
Okay.
And you'd be a mad cow to miss the second half of this episode over on patreon.com/Celtic Ligers for just €5 a month. A weekly bonus hour and access to the Mentally Insane back catalog. Check it out.